L'Assemblée va entendre l'allocution.
The Assembly will now hear an address by His Excellency Iván Duque Márquez, President of the Republic of Colombia. I request protocol to escort His Excellency.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale,
On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome His Excellency Iván Duque Márquez, President of the Republic of Colombia, and invite him to address the Assembly.
Señor Vicepresidente.
Mr. Vice President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, Excellencies, Heads of State, Heads of Mission, I would like to greet the President of the Assembly, Dr. Maria Fernanda Espinosa, and I would like to extend my greetings to the Secretary General of the organization, Mr. Antonio Guterres. It is my immense honor to address this assembly for the first time, an assembly filled with history and transcendental importance. It is my honor to address you as the President of Colombia. I come with pride for having been elected to the highest office of our country, and as a new member of Colombian generation, motivated to unite our country around common goals. Colombia is a magical country where there is a convergence of races, regions, customs, and ecosystems. It is a nation where culture, ancestral heritage, nature, and the hard-working and service-oriented spirit of our citizenship defines a great, resilient society that bends to no adversity. Our hard-working, patriotic strength, which is untiring, has made Colombia a people which has won the respect of the world, the interest of investment, and which is constructing a path to progress with democratic institutions. We have been able to maintain economic growth in the midst of a regional situation which is complex and volatile. We have seen our cities transformed and revitalize productive sectors, expanding the size of the middle class while we meet the challenges of globalization. We have made progress in equity between men and women, in the educational world, in the world of work. To recognize this progress, I appointed the first member of gender-based, gender-equal cabinet, gender between men and women. It's the first in the history of my country, but there is still much to be done, and we will continue making progress. It is a source of pride to tell this story and to commit as a Colombian, all the more motivated, since in the year 2019 we will be celebrating the bicentennial of our independence. Today more than ever, Excellencies, we must be motivated to achieve social justice, reject hatred, polarization, and to focus on a compact for Colombia, a compact for equity. This is the invitation that we are extending to build a plan and a development agenda to define state policies in the coming decades, which would use as a reference point the year 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals set for that year in a context of legality and undertaking that would bring us to the desired and necessary equity. I wish to see that this compact that we are proposing be based on legality. Peace is an objective for all Colombians, and all, absolutely all, will be working decisively to that end. But peace requires construction based on the rule of law, which combines public assets of security and justice. Our government will work for the process of demobilization, disarmament, and reinsertion, which has made headway in recent years. We will work to make sure that it is successful. And we will provide those who have bet on genuine reincorporation to the legal world, subjects of the principles of truth, justice, and reparation. We will provide them with due opportunities for progress and protection. Today, I wish to express my gratitude to the United Nations for its support and its commitment to contributing to this process, to making sure that it be successful, and for that reason, we can continue on this path. Likewise, Excellencies, we will continue to work so that all countries in the region, especially those worst hit by violence, have the resources and investments that generate hope. The mission of the United Nations in Colombia, like our oversight bodies, know that our government received a fragile process on a number of different fronts. First, there is the budgetary weakness. Many commitments were made without earmarking enough resources for them. Secondly, institutional weakness. A complex and dispersed architecture was created, and now it is difficult to make progress efficiently towards meeting all of our goals. But I wish to reiterate before this assembly, our commitment, the purpose of Colombia, is to fulfill our commitment to those who have taken the genuine path of leaving aside violence. It is our hope that with the financial support of the international community, that we will be able to continue soundly on this path. But just as we will fulfill this objective, and for those who meet the norms, it is also our duty to implement the law in an exemplary manner to prosecute those who continue to be criminals. We will not accept repetition or more violence. Those that continue in the world of crime and who mock the victims and the generosity of the Colombian people will see the full weight of justice on their shoulders. Mr. Vice President, if we wish Colombia to shine and for peace to shine, then it's necessary that we overturn drug trafficking. In the area of illicit drug growth, we saw an alarming situation recently. There's been an incremental growth in recent years, growth that cannot continue, because this has become the fuel of growth for dangerous organized crime groups. We are committed to breaking up these transnational criminal networks and to approach it in a holistic manner. Drug trafficking, ladies and gentlemen, is a global threat. It's true that we must do more in the area of prevention and attention for addicts from the point of view of public health. That is indisputable. But it's also no less true that drug trafficking in Colombia is also destructive of the environment, institutions, and it corrupts socially. Fighting this phenomenon and at the same time promoting a society that rejects drugs due to its devastating effects on health and the fabric of society is our moral duty. We are already taking measures, and it is my pleasure that 2 days ago we called for global action against drugs, and we recognized in that call that it is the work of all, and requires that all countries contribute to the effort, including those with increasing consumption of drugs, as well as those who manufacture the chemical precursors. 130 nations, with the leadership of the United States, we committed to this fight We will not be vanquished, nor will we accept as our destiny addiction, which is destroying the souls of so many young people. Legality also means stopping corruption. Corruption is a threat to democracy. It's a threat to social values, to institutions, and it must be tackled in a determined manner. Since the first day of our government's administration, we presented measures to Congress, and in response to public clamoring for this, we worked with all political parties on an ambitious and necessary agenda. We showed the world that we are capable of standing united to work towards national goals. I would invite the international community to strengthen all sanction mechanisms and instruments to combat transnational corruption, to overcome corruption. It is a task that involves everyone, requires everyone, and we must all make the effort to be visible to those that are corrupt and to expedite the judiciary and sanctions against them. Our proposal for development, Excellencies, our Compact for Colombia, also seeks to drive forward undertaking and reanimating the economy. The Sustainable Development Goals are significant for our agenda for Colombia, where science and technology would be driven forward by connectivity, by access to capital, by advances in the orange economy, and by promoting research. Colombia, which is committed to protecting diversity, to renewable energies, to reducing the carbon footprint, and to strengthening our ethics in an unbreakable manner. The world should know that this is the Colombia we wish to construct on a daily basis. We will work to bring about that Colombia. That's the challenge. That's our motivation. And for that reason, I must say to the world, these goals must tackle huge challenges. The challenges for our country now are the thousands of fearful faces, people who suffer cold in their bones and hunger in their stomachs, and a pain for their country. It's a challenge that at this very moment, people walk with uncertainty and drive on our highways in Colombia with uncertainty. I am referring here to the Venezuelans that are fleeing from a dictatorship and fleeing to our country. Many of them are children, unprotected, exposed to the tragedy of their country, whereas the conflict in Syria has led to a flow of 6,000 a year to Turkey. In Colombia, in less than 2 years, has opened its door to almost 1 million of our brothers and sisters from Venezuela. We've received them with affection, and we will always do so, despite any social or fiscal or financial obstacles, because we are joined in our brotherhood. But we need to call things by their name. We have a humanitarian and migratory crisis, which is the worst ever seen in our history due to a dictatorship which annihilated all liberties. Today, I want to state clearly that the free self-determination of peoples cannot be manipulated in order to be used for the free determination of the oppressors. The current world should stand united to make sure that this tragic exodus comes to an end and that the country can once again see hope flourishing. This is a global challenge. It's the end of a dictatorship that must take place, the return of democracy, and full freedom. That's the only possible path. This is why the international community must immediately demand the release of political prisoners and identify the best solutions for stopping this crisis and stop desolation and despair from growing. I wish for the United Nations to listen to what we're asking for. And I hope that they have heard Colombia's request, and I am so pleased to hear that that the special representative was designated by the Secretary General to oversee the discussions with Venezuela. I also would like to thank all countries who accompanied us yesterday in the high-level meeting convened by Colombia on the regional commitment to stop this humanitarian crisis. These measures must be accompanied by the creation of a multilateral fund to address the victims of this dictatorship, these migratory flows, and their needs. And this is why we must drive forward the proposal put forth by the International Development Bank and its president, Mr. Luis Alberto Moreno. But also important, Excellencies, is using all international mechanisms available to denounce, investigate, and sanction in the International Criminal Court those who have sowed the seeds of this tragedy. Excellencies, it is an honor to address this assembly, to put to you the vision that we have for Colombia, to call for international solidarity for the Venezuelan people, and to extend an invitation to them. The world today, more than ever, requires cooperation and multilateralism. It is the time to come together and not to be isolated. It is the time to not make trade and cooperation something that is not the path of shared opportunity. We must continue advancing in a world where partnerships make it possible to mitigate the effects of climate change, to consolidate fair trade, stop international crime and corruption, create job opportunities, put an end to discrimination, and solidify the idea of producing while conserving and conserve while producing. Colombia, a legal Colombia, Colombia based on equity. That's the Colombia we want to build. It's already underway. Moreover, we will not allow anyone to destroy our hope of being a country that thinks big, that is a country that dreams of a better world and that will work for the integration of all nations. Thank you.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale,
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Colombia for the statement just made. May I request representatives to remain seated while we bid farewell to the head of state.